From 11 to 15, we are having this presentations going on. And today we have in this morning session presentations by this group. You see the list of the things they are going to read on Indian and Western poetry. The list of the students, let us see for this morning slot. Vasna, and she will be presentation on exploring the legal architects in mobility. Tushali will read on a comparative study of Bharat's Natya Shastra and Aristotle's poetics. Winkle will read on the death of the author with reference to practical criticism.
And presentation of one topic of today's presentation is the death of author with the reference to practical criticism. My academic details. Introduction. Tom Richards was an English educator, literary critic, poet, and rhetorician. He contributed to the new criticism, a formalist movement in literary theory. His path-breaking works are The Meaning of Meaning, The Principles of Literary Criticism, and The Practical Criticism. What the practical criticism is? Richards published in 1929 practical criticism, book named Practical Criticism, accounts of the history, the close reading of the primarily as a new critical practice that began with the practical criticism. And this was the new kind of reading practice that began with the starting of this book. The practical criticism is a form of reading or the close reading of the text. A practical criticism is known as the close reading of the text also. Peter Berry argues in the beginning of theory that I. Richards pioneered the technique that made close study of literature possibly by isolating the text from its history and context. It disregards the social and historical context of the text. That as here mentioned by Peter Berry, that to make a text isolated from its historical and social contexts, that how it was written and which were the reason posted to came this text out. It emphasizes the close reading of literary text, especially of poetry. The poem in itself, that nothing else matters but the poem in itself, that author and mindset of author while writing, but the social and political circumstances are also not that much important. What Richards was in fact doing was investigating the nature of introspection and using poetry as instrument to do so. Richardson has used the poetry as the instrument to make his experience something better than what processes were going on. The main objective to practical criticism of Richards was to encourage students to concentrate on the words on the page rather than being dependent on the preconceived or received belief about the text. How students are learning to read. That sometimes it happens that there are already some contexts are given by everyone else that to read that text or poetry in this context. That the historical context of this poetry or prose is that, and another social and biographical contexts are there, and you will have to read only in this context. So here Richardson is telling that students should apply another way of reading. There are practical criticism Richards deals with are four kinds of meaning, that are sense, feeling, tone, and intention. The sense by all other kinds of senses, and feeling that is involved with emotions of how this poetry is written, and the tone, that how a poet is speaking or to the readers, that what is the ultimate tone of this poetry and the intention of the poet. Two uses of language, scientific and emotive. That here a scientific use is not considered as truth or false, that something is wrong and something is right, as the scientific experiments are doing, that to prove something right or wrong. Here it is not the scientific in the sense that to make how this poetry is making here, that the structure and the language of the poetry is here, and the emotive use of poetry. Figurative language is also there, that how the language of the meanings and languages of are used here. Death of the author. Death of the author is an essay by French literary critic and theorist Roland Barthes. It argues against the method of criticism that relies on the author's identity, political views, historical context, and religious or personal attributes. It's language who speaks. That he is telling that in the poetry, it's nothing else but the poet itself what is speaking. Instead of discovering a single theological meaning, readers of the text discovered that the writing in reality. Here, what is the concept of death is like to die. The poet is dead. Not in this sense, but while after writing the particular poem, poet is no longer existing as the one who witnessed or who is telling that no, I have written this poet in this manner. As what happens that as we all know that we are aware of poetry of Paru Kakar, that Shavvahini Ganga. Here what she is a Khatma who is Mashan, Khatma Kashta ki door. So who is the reader? He is not aware of the corona situation and all that kind of things, and reading after many years, and he will tell this. It may be the situation that it might be that there were no such things that to bury the dead body and all these kind of things. Divya Vastra or Tumha Patthar ke. So these are the things that your Vastras are Divya, something is more powerful. Clothes can't be that powerful. Okay? According to Bas, author is there to produce but not to explain. As here in the many kind of things that we have also written some blogs on some poetry that there are one poem bread, that is who friends shall bake it. It is about the title is that the breads. Who friends shall bake it? Who bakes the other bread? Like the other bread, the bread of justice, be baked by the people, plentiful and wholesome and daily. This is the last stanza of this poem, that who shall break the bread, but here it is taken as the justice, not as the bread or the ordinary bread which can be baked by people. Author is merely a scripter, that as the whole essay is telling that author is merely a scripter, nothing else. After writing or scripting, he is existing no longer. Practical criticism suggests that the text should be out of external elements or connections. That anything a text in practical criticism, text everything should be out rather than text what the language itself is speaking. Avoidance of personal and historical contexts. Collective consciousness is necessary. Though we are speaking that only the poetry matters, but if the reader is not aware that what are the collective dots of this poem, then he cannot be able to understand the poem particularly. Practical criticism refers the idea of the death of the author. That is how the death of author of Barnes and new histories. Roland Barthes, he is belonging to the new historicism, and here is the practical criticism and structuralism is there. That how this merely next out after coming movement is coming to in existence here. That it is connecting. These are my works cited. And here what ChatGPT gave me the questions for topics for the presentation. It is particularly in the practical criticism, the reference of this criticism. What is practical criticism? Provide the overview, and then benefits and context is. These are the very ordinary questions that what practical criticism is, and benefits and the sides which are the. Here it is written, the authorial intention. This is what something relevant that authorial intention in practical criticism, relation between practical criticism and the literary canon, including the approach can challenge traditional notions of the literary value and highlights overlooked marginalized text. The future of practical criticism. These are the responses I got. The birth of reader must be required by the death of author. That is what there in the by Rola Bas. Now questions.
As you mentioned about the death of the author, what is your perspective on death of the author theory, and why do we always take into account the author's intention when discussing any piece of art? So what's your opinion?
In my opinion, death of author can't be separated from the text. That we always look at text, while the Pinjar of Amrita Pritam, it is particularly written when a partition was there of India and Pakistan, and it had made a high impact on her mind, and then it is there in the work. But who is aware of this will know that it is about the partition, but who is not aware will say that, well, it's about the law and Hindu-Muslim marriage and all that kind of things. But the main intention of Amrita was that. And if it comes with the death of author, that if somebody is not reading it as a partition novel, then he will say, well, Amrita didn't return it, though she is not no more here, but if she will be alive, and then she cannot claim that, well, you will have to read only in this context, that I have written this, but you should read in this, but it cannot be possible. Another one?
How does the death of the author relate to the postmodern approaches to criticism?
Death of author relate to postmodern approaches to criticism. That the postmodern approaches that after the new criticism and new historicism came, then structuralism was there after the new criticism. That it was the middle part of new criticism and new historicism. That when it came, then there was what is the main core part of art? It was the art for art's sake. It was more relevant than this, and then theories are that it always are changing, rather than one theory is there to make one point, then another will come to make another. That is how it will work. That what is lacking here will be somewhere be adding by someone. That's all. Thank you.